Okay, so our point goes through x equals -3 and +2 for y, and x equals 1 and -10 for y. And there's our line, something like that. Okay, can we, without a shadow of a doubt, say what the y-intercept is? Do you think it's -6? -7? Okay, so we can't, do we really know our y-intercept first, like for sure certainty? No, we don't. So we can't use that y equals mx plus b. But the first question that we have to add to the process is we always need to ask ourselves, do we have our slope? Do we know our slope of this with given? We're given a line passing through these 2 points. Determine the equation in both general form, so we're going to make general form, and slope y-intercept form. Then graph the line. So always the first question we ask, no matter what the problem is, do we have our slope? So slope, and the answer is nope. Slope? Nope. So when we don't have our slope, there's a few ways we're going to get it. Today we're just going to work with one basic way. And when we're given 2 points, we use, remember the formula? No, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So our first step in every problem we approach is we need to get our slope if we don't have it. Check, do I have my slope? So let's plug it in. Remember when we label our points, we start with xy, xy. Does it matter who's the first point? No. So 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay, so y2 becomes -10 minus y2. So there was y2 minus y1, which is 2 over x1 or x2. 1 minus x1, which is -3. Now what happens if we subtract a negative? We add a positive. Now you have to really make a decision. Do you trust your skills on the calculator more than you trust your addition skills? So really, if you trust yourself with the calculator more, then how do we type this in? In busy brackets, so -10 minus 2 on the numerator, and that has to be wrapped in brackets, divided by 1, and you could either +3 or you can write 1 minus a -3. 1 minus a -3. Either's fine. Give the same answer, which is -3. So the first question is, do we have our slope? The answer is nope, we get the slope. The second question is what we've been asking ourselves yesterday, which is, do we have our y-intercept? Because if we have our y-intercept, we're basically saying, can we use y equals mx plus b? And the answer here is, do we know our y-intercept? No, they don't tell us our y-intercept. So if they don't tell us our y-intercept, we have which formula? Y minus y1. It's called slope point. Slope point. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So in order to use that, you need to know one point and your slope. Do we know a point through this line? In fact, how many points do we know? 2. So we have an option. Which point do you want to use? I like to use the one already labeled as x1, y1, because then it matches with my formula. But it really doesn't matter which point we use. So let's use that one. So we're going to use our slope equals -3 and -3 comma 2. Now you don't have to always write this part out, writing out my slope and point. You can go straight to plugging it in. Y minus, what's y1? 2 equals our slope of -3 times x minus -3. And when we subtract a negative, change it to adding a positive. I used one of our points, so I chose this point, -3 and 2. So this was x1, y1. So that's the slope point formula. When we know a slope and a point, right? Now we can use to make the equation. And we can't use mx plus b because we don't know the y-intercept, so we have to use this guy. It's always one or the other. Nancy, please put that in the garbage. There's also one over there. Back there, please. No? Okay. Okay, so what's the next step in making y equals mx plus b? Brackets. So we have y minus 2 equals negative 3 times x, negative 3x, and negative 3 times, this is a positive 3, so negative 3 times positive 3, minus 9, and last step, add 2. What is negative 9 plus 2? Negative 7. So it actually did go through negative 7. And what's this form called? Slope intercept. Slope intercept. And I keep getting you to write down the name of it so we memorize these names. Okay. Now the question asks us to do two things. Write the equation in slope intercept and general form. So we need to make it general form. So there's no fraction here or decimal, so we're good on that front. So what's our next step? Move the y. If we have a plus y, we are going to subtract y to both sides. Y minus y gives us 0 equals first the x, then the y, then the 7. Negative 3x minus y minus 7. What's wrong with this picture? Has a is negative. The coefficient of x is negative. The other guys we can have negative, just not the x. So how do we make it positive? Divide them all by negative 1. What happens with the signs then? They all flip. So negative 3x becomes positive 3x plus y plus 7. And that is called general form. Now, in a question, I won't ask you to write on a unit exam both forms. I probably just tell you to write it in one form or the other. Okay, if I ask you to write in general form, then we really have to do all this work to get there. If I asked you to write in slope intercept form, we would have been finished at y equals negative 3x minus 7. Okay, so a question like this on a unit exam is probably worth about 4 marks at least, because there's a lot of work to be shown. Okay, so let's try the next one. I'm going to again write them in both general and slope intercept form. So first question we ask ourselves, slope, do we know it? Nope. So we have to use, how are we going to get our slope from those 2 points? y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. We have to decide who's going to be our first point and second. xy, xy. And to keep it simple, first is my first, second is my second. Okay. y2, what's y2? Negative 2 minus a negative 6. So what happens when we're minusing a negative 6? Plus, negative 2 plus 6. Divided by x2 is 3 minus a negative 3. When we have minus minus, plus. Okay, you can either type this in your calculator or we can do it in our head. Negative 2 plus 6, positive 4. And 3 plus 3, 6. We have to reduce that. 4 over 6 reduces to 2/3. And if you did that on your calculator, you would have got the same thing. You just have to go math, enter, enter after you get your decimal 0.6 repeating. Okay, next question we ask ourselves is, do we have our y-intercept? Now remember, if it's a point, we know a point is a y-intercept if it looks like what? 0, comma, some y value. Then it's the y-intercept. But here there's no x's of 0, so we don't know our y-intercept. So can we use y equals mx plus b? No. No, we can't. Y-intercept, the answer is no. So if we can't use the y-intercept, then what formula do we have to use if we don't know our y-intercept? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we need a slope, we got it, and a point. Well, we got two, so we just need to pick one. So for sake of convenience, can I use the one that's already labeled as x1, y1? Sure, why not? With math, it's nice to keep things as simple as we can. Let's not complicate them more than they need to be. So y minus, what's y1? Negative 6. So y minus a negative 6 becomes plus 6. Y plus 6. Our slope is 2 over 3. X minus negative 3. So now again it becomes plus 3. Our next step, distributive law. Distributive law. Get rid of those brackets. Y plus 6 equals 2/3 times x. 2/3 x. If you don't trust yourself with your multiplication of fractions, then you might want to type this in the calculator. 2/3 times 3 is just 2. And the reason why is when your denominator is the same as the number you're multiplying by, you're just left with your numerator. Like those cancel out. So plus 2. Okay, what's our next step? Minus 6. If we have 2 and we're taking away 6, negative 4. And so this, what's this called? Slope, intercept, form. Okay? If I asked you just to write it in slope point form, where would we have stopped? The first one. What's this? This is called slope point form. Just like your quiz today. Okay, so we got the first part done. They want us to write it in slope intercept, but they also want us to write it in general form. Okay, so we have y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Jason, what's my first step? Times everybody by 3. So times by 3, times by 3, times by 3. Because we need to get rid of our fractions. Can't have fractions in general form. That's why. And our denominator is 3, and that's why we chose 3. 3 times y, 3y equals, what happens when we multiply 3 times 2/3? The 3's cancel out, and we're just left with 2 and, don't forget to write the x. 2x minus negative, minus 12. Minus 12. Okay, next step, Luke. Take away 3y. So we want one side equal to 0 in general form. And when 3y minus 3y is 0, does the order matter in how you write this next step? Yes, in general form, who goes first? The x, then the y minus 3y, then our constant of minus 12. And that is called general form. All right, so at this time, I'd like you to try the next one on your own. Okay, I'll leave this one up as an example. So try the next one on your own. Okay, so slope equals y2 minus y1, or x2 minus x1. So you should have had negative 5 minus 3, positive 3. And then 2 minus negative 2. And so only when the second number is negative does it turn into a positive. minus 8 over 4, because 2 minus 2 is 2 plus 2, which equals negative 2. Now we don't know our y-intercept, so you should have gone into slope point formula. We don't have b. We can't use y equals mx plus b. So y minus, I'm going to use the same point here. So y minus 3. You can use either point, but I'm just going to use the one that's already labeled as x1, y1, equals a negative 2 slope, x minus a negative 2. So this should have became plus 2 there. Minus a negative 2. So then next step is distributive law, which gives you y minus 3 equals negative 2x minus 4. Negative 2 times positive 2 is a negative 4. And now we add 3 to both sides, which gives you y equals negative 2x minus 1. So that's your first part, the slope-intercept form. General form, it's only 2 steps. There's no fraction, so you can go straight into subtracting y to both sides, which is negative 2x minus y, subtract 1. We can't have a negative x, so you flip all our signs by dividing by negative 1. So 2x plus y plus 1 is what you should have got. Good? One okay? Yay. No? Is there an easy way to do the next one? Very easy way. So the next one has a lot. We make the equation in standard and general form, or slope-intercept form and general form. It has an x-intercept of 2 and a y-intercept of 5. What's the first question we ask ourselves? Do we have our slope? And the answer is no. So we need to use our slope formula. Can we somehow turn these both into points? Yeah, because we need 2 points. So how do I write x-intercept as a point? 2, comma, 0. And how do I write the y-intercept as a point? 0, comma, negative 5. Okay. So, going from there, we can go straight into our slope formula now that we have 2 points, because we need to get our slope first before we can do anything else. y2 is equal to, oh, I guess we should label, hey? Well, if you have a graph, yes. If you want to use graph paper, absolutely. On a test, you'd have to basically staple the graph paper you used onto the exam and kind of arrow it, say number it so I know, I see the work if you use a graph. Okay, so y2, negative 5 minus 0 is y1 over x2 is 0 minus 2. What's negative 5 minus 0? Negative 5. What is 0 minus 2? Negative 2. If we have 2 negatives being divided, positive 5 over 2. Positive 5 over 2. Okay, so next question we ask ourselves is, do we have our y-intercept? What's the answer this time? Yes. Yay! It's so nice when that happens. It's so much easier. Because then which formula can we use? Y equals mx plus b. What's our slope? Our m? 5 over 2. Don't forget to write the x. And what's my y-intercept? Minus 5. Right? They give me my y-intercept. That's my b value. So then we're done the first part. There's slope-intercept form. Okay, general. Amy, what would I multiply everybody by? 2. 2 times by 2 times by 2. 2 times y. 2y. 2 times 5 over 2x. 2's cancel, so we're left with 5x minus 10. 2 times 5 is 10. And last step, minus 2y. 0 equals 5x minus 2y minus 10. Okay. All right, so that's it for notes for today. So if you can grab your brown booklet and open up to the day 6 worksheet, it's called Forming Equations, Practice. So it looks like this, Forming Equations, day 6. Okay, so need to first I'm gonna emit a couple questions. It's warm in here, right? Oh, I'm gonna turn down the heat. Oh, so warm. Okay. So, we really want to use that chart we worked through, right? If there's a chart on the board, we ask ourselves, do we have our slope first? And then the next question, do we have our y-intercept? So some of these questions for day 6, they start off with we actually have our slope. Slope equals 3/4. Do we have our y-intercept? No, but we have a point. So you can go straight into slope point form. Okay? Now, can you change one thing? On yours, it doesn't say slope-intercept form. It says standard there. Can you cross that out? I'm going to write every one of these in slope-intercept form. Now, the answer key that you have, which is on the 5th page, is for general form. But I want you just to practice doing slope-intercept form. And so I have an answer key I'm handing out that matches this worksheet, because the ones in the back are general form. And I would like you to practice slope-intercept. Yeah. 5. So we're doing slope-intercept form. I just want you to write it in slope-intercept form. That's it. So once you get in y equals mx plus b, you're done. You just have to get it to y equals mx plus b. Okay? So only a little bit rearranging. Yeah, well, 1 second. Okay, so, yeah, this is, okay. One more? Okay. So, I want to look at a couple really quickly. So, it is so important that you do this homework this weekend, okay? We have quite a bit of time. Can you turn over to number 7 or 11? Number 11. So, I'll go to number 11. No, some of these are very quick. And remember, there's a lot of space needed when you don't actually need it for a lot of them. Okay? So 11, I want to look at you don't have to do 11, cross it off. We're going to cover that concept on Monday or Tuesday. Okay, 11 and 12 you can cancel out. I might use them as examples later on, but just cross them off. You don't have to do them for your homework. 11, 12, and then also 16. Okay, you can cross off 16. Okay, so those 3 questions you can cross off. So that means that there's only 13 questions for you to work through. And we have lots of time in class. Some of them are really quick. Just to review, if you go back to the first page now, just to review, does everyone know what the origin is? 0, 0. Yeah, that's 0, 0. Okay, that's 0, 0. So the first 3 questions, the first few, like you'll get some where they're giving you your slope and some where you need to find your slope. Now I will look at number, when you get to number 6, for example, let's just start off some of this together. So number 6, we ask, first question is, do we have our slope? So it says has a y-intercept of 2/3 and passes through 8, 3. We don't know our slope. So we need to get our slope. But we need 2 points. Right now it only looks like we have 1 point. So can we turn the y-intercept into a point? Yes. 0, 2/3. 0, 2/3. Okay, now can you proceed with getting your slope? Yes. Okay. Same with the next one, right? Has an x-intercept of -1/2 and passes through -2 and 5. First question, do we have our slope is no. We need 2 points. Can you turn that into a point? Yes, okay. So I just wanted to remind you, negative half comma 0. And then you can go into your slope formula. Slope is undefined. What kind of line has an undefined slope? A vertical line. So that means it's a vertical line. And all vertical lines have what type of equation? No, x equals some constant. X equals some constant. Okay, so if this one goes through, x equals negative 2 and y equals negative 3. So it goes through x equals negative 2 and it's vertical. What's my equation? What is x always equal to? Negative 2. That's it. That's my answer. That's the equation. It's that simple. So some of these are really quick. Just kind of thinking through it. That's the answer. Yeah, vertical line, that's the equation. Remember, one variable, it's a vertical or horizontal line. That's the answer, right? That's the equation of the vertical line, x equals negative 2. Horizontal lines is y equals a constant. So whenever we have a horizontal vertical line, it'll always have one variable. Vertical would be the variable is only x, horizontal only y. Okay? So let's get to work on homework.